So, George, what is the biggest challenge in interacting with families when a loved one dies?
Well, just understanding that they're going through a very hard time in their lives, and we're here to help them find a suitable location to place their loved one. That we're going to have that loved one forever and ever, and so helping them find the right location is the most important thing that we do, and we try to do that by having the grounds look as best as we possibly can,
You do.
and then also have an area that looks a little more pleasing to them. When we go out onto the grounds with a family, we kind of say if there's an area that looks a little more pleasing to, we can kind of head in that direction and find a specific site.
Okay, and would you think that the families are prepared in terms of, do you find that they would have had some sort of conversation about death, end of life?
Probably, I would say maybe half, maybe a little more than half do have some kind of conversations, but there's too many that come in and don't have any idea what the person who passed away wanted, and so then we kind of ask them what they think they may have wanted or what the family itself wants to do.
And do you sometimes see a conflict when they talk about what the person who died wanted or not?
Once in a while, say when a wife comes in to bury her husband, and she might bring one or two or three or even more children with her, sometimes one family member has one idea and another family member will have another idea.
In terms of what?
In terms of if they want to do a standard burial or if there's cremation involved, and then others want to be close to a tree and others want to be out in full sunshine, and that type of thing. And then when it gets down to it, on what type of a marker, if it's granite or whether it's bronze, and so there's sometimes there's conflict in there. And when that happens, we try to talk to in this case the spouse and find out what she wants, and try to try to get everybody aligned with what she wants to do. Because the family really should be there to support the next of kin, the spouse in this case.
That's true, yeah. And could you tell me a little bit about I know that's very broad, and I know that question, you cannot answer it like very specific, but just an overall idea in terms of costs of a funeral. Let's say a student would lose the mother or the father. What kind of cost do they have to look at? What do you think? And also, what do they have to think of in terms of planning?
Sure. Well, usually the first thing that they need to decide on is whether they are looking for what we call a traditional full casket burial or full burial, or if there's going to be cremation involved. And then we're talking about the location of the grave site and then the size of the grave site, and that's going to make a big difference in the cost. So that's mainly the first thing is what type of disposition is wanted, whether it's includes cremation or whether there's no cremation involved. And so then we start looking at the cost of the burial for a full casket. Do you want to get into prices in that regard right now?
Just an overall idea.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, I have here a crypt, for example.
Well, let me kind of start with perhaps a grave. And so we'll start with a grave site that, and in these cases, a grave and a crypt would not include the cremation. So the minimum full-size grave here, the cost for burial is $9,182, so about $9,200. And then a marker for that grave is going to vary in cost from about $1,100 on up to $2,500, depending on if it's bronze or granite, and then what color of granite it is, and how much lettering is to go on there. And so that and then that's for a flat marker. We call it a flat tablet. And then you can move up from there to a section in the cemetery where upright monuments are allowed. Some people call it the old-fashioned tombstone. And the cost of burial there is just over $14,000. And then markers are going to vary from probably about $3,500, and it can go on up to $10,000. I don't have any markers here that are $10,000, but you know they could go that high. And so, you know, from a neighborhood of about $10,000 to $15,000 to $18,000, and then you move to a crypt, and crypts are going to cost right around $23,000 for a single, and then for a double, in the neighborhood of about $40,000. And then we've even got a few quadruple crypts that go for about $60,000.
Okay, what do you think a funeral would cost?
I think it would cost around $10,000.
I would have to say like 20,000.
Okay.
I would have to say like 8,000, 9,000. I think it would cost 12,000.
Perfect.